there's a winner right here. It's there now.
There's a bunch of room over there. All right, we're just waiting for what's it called? Ryan. Shockingly.
I like the, what's it called, the heart of it.
Yeah.
Somebody looking at our face?
What?
Possibly.
Okay, that's wonderful.
Upwards.
That's not on you.
I know.
Just wondering if someone's going to be done.
Because it's going to be a longer one. Plus, I was feeling bored last night when we made it. Actually, not bored. Hysterical. All right, Ryan. Yeah. 3. What time is it? What's the obligatory target?
Wrong Ryan. Sorry.
What's it? Yeah, I know, right? What's his obligatory tardiness? Like 3 minutes?
This starts right. Actually, late ends at about 10:02.
Yeah, 10:02. All right, we got one more guy. We have Jim on the phone, Dan on the phone. I think we're probably okay. Tony's here. All right. Okay. All right. So we're going to get going today. It's a long one because we're going to go through the Q3 goals. We didn't have the meeting last week, so we have to do that. And we also are going to announce the monthly obsession winners, which is very cool as well. Oh, I forgot. Let me get that. Okay. So I know it's been a little while since we closed Q2, but I've got to tell everyone we had an amazing quarter, a huge finish. We missed our sales goal by about 85,000, but it was the biggest sales goal we've ever had in history. And it was 9.84. We hit 9.75. Our June was 3.14. Is that right? Or 3.66, Tony?
Sorry?
3.14, 3.66.
What's that?
Goal for June? Because you're really listening?
Yeah.
Got a lot of focus. It's always good when you get called out right then. Right. I know you were. It's fine.
Oh, that's right.
Is that what it was? Okay, we hit 5.14 million.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic news. Obviously, Jim's going to talk a little bit more about that, but you guys, it was a great job. A lot of those deals were closed as a result of the summit. Bless you. Which I will say, man, that's all of us putting our best foot forward, and that's why it matters so much the way that we conduct ourselves and how we engage with our customers. It is phenomenal. I'm very proud of us. I can't tell you, because this was a momentum building quarter. We now have to capitalize on that momentum and get going forward. Obviously, there's a lot of work that's going to come for implementing a lot of those customers, and I know that means. So here's been my goal since I got here. I said we need to create the problem, so we have to solve it. And I think this quarter we finally created the problem. So the Getting Them team made it happen. Now the Keeping Them team, which is basically everybody outside of sales and marketing, needs to work to make sure that we are making those customers happy, so that we can go back and ask for more revenue. Because a lot of the big customers we signed up, there's significantly more revenue out there, and I know we can go out and get it because they want to give it to us. We just need to give them the reason to say yes. So that's phenomenal news. I'm very, very proud, and I cannot tell you the external accolades that we're going to be getting for that. So we also have a lot of work for us, cut out for us in Q3, heads down, and I know that Jim is going to be talking about that as well. But just want to say to everybody, this was a big, big stair step for us. We turned the corner, so you should all be really proud of yourselves. It was cool. All right, so the first thing I have up here, the chats. I feel like an old person because I have been watching some of the chats, and I actually had to interject myself to say, hey, that might not be appropriate to talk about at work. So I will just address this to the whole company. Let's all be adults and use our best judgment, because again, I don't think anybody should be policing the chats. I think we can all police ourselves and say, hey, is this something I should say at work? Just because I think it's okay might offend somebody else. That is all I'm going to say about it. I'm not going to create a sensitivity training. I think we're all okay. And I think that everyone knows what you can and can't say. And if you're not sure, I always say, when in doubt, abstain. I got good advice, reinforcement on that from Paul yesterday, because I felt the need to put something in it. I was like, Ian, you know what? I probably should. If I question it, not going to put it in there. Just because it's, you never know how it's going to be received. And especially now that we've just turned the corner and we're really going to start growing, we're going to be adding a lot more folks. And yes, they'll share our core values, But that doesn't necessarily mean that we know them all personally and know what offends them and what doesn't. So we just have to be careful of it. That's all I'm going to say about it. I will let go of that. It did make me feel very old that I had to talk about this. So, all right, speech tech. I know that is a huge focus. I know we're going to have constant fire drills for the next how long? Who is the countdown? I know you can't look at it, but RJ?
It's 18 days, basically.
18 days. All right.
Yeah.
So I know there's a lot of work. I know engineering's doing a ton of stuff. I know that marketing and sales are doing a lot to get prepared for it. So again, whatever we can do to stay focused on it and help, let us know. I know there's some key things. I know we've had a couple of things change in the past couple of days, but I believe we can get as much as we can done, and it's going to be a successful show, especially on the, building on the momentum from Summit. So definitely good stuff. My number one goal for this, I'm hoping this month, is to hire a CFO. So I have a ton of candidates coming in. We're doing a lot of phone screens. We are looking to add somebody who doesn't disrupt the culture we built, but brings it forward. And I think that those are all the candidates that we're talking to so far, which is good stuff. So we've got the team. They're going through the full top grading. But I'm really excited about the candidates we've had, because I've interviewed probably over 80 or 85 different CFOs for various companies. And the ones that we've gotten so far that I've been talking to are by far the best ones I've ever spoken to. And it's because they're so excited about the opportunity at Boxeo. So this Q2 really helped us in recruiting candidates like that. So that is also something that really matters to us. Very good stuff. Okay, and this morning, gotta love this. We are working on our first outbound marketing campaign, and it's going to be focused on trying to get folks to migrate from other competitors. There's a lot of hot debate on how we should go about doing that. We're going to sort that out and get it out as soon as possible, because that's going to be a change in the way that we actually market to folks. We've been very passive in the past, where it's a lot of SEO and sort of, let's see what comes in. What we now are going to start to do is go outbound, and then also have outbound calls and follow-up to see what we can convert. To actually drive more leads. It's becoming more proactive. So we've been pushing on all the customer obsession teams to be more proactive, and now we're going to start doing it from a sales and marketing standpoint as well. So that's all good stuff. Very excited about that. We just have to come to some decisions, because I know there's been hot debate for everybody around in the chat. And then the NPS survey. We're going to shift to doing it quarterly. I know we've done it annually, but we need to get more consistent feedback so that we know where we stand with our customers. So that is going to be something that hopefully will go out today. Alex, Ryan, we hope. Okay, and it will be in all 3 different languages, similar to the way that the Q12 survey went out. So a lot of good stuff there. Just a matter of getting it out. And I'll let everybody know that's going to be a change. Now, the Q12, we have about 105 responses. 105 responses. We need to get 130. We want to close it by the end of this week so that we can actually start taking action on it, make some changes based on the feedback we're getting in July. So in order to do that, we need to get all of the responses in by the end of this week. So if you have not responded, are we going to send it out again, or did we already send it out again?
We already sent it out.
Because I'm wondering if people lost it in their email and just completely forgot. So,
Is it because it is blind?
Oh, we can't do it again. Shoot, we don't. Okay.
So they have to take action.
Well, either way, go find the link. Maybe you could send the subject heading, and then folks can find the link in their emails. So we need to get 100% response on that. So we have, what, like 23 left that we have to get? Something along those lines. So folks, if you haven't answered, please respond. Very important.
It says Q12 on the header.
Yeah, it says Q12 on the header? Okay, so it says Q12 on the header. Please get that done. It takes literally 5 minutes, unless you're going to really deliberate a lot, which, that's always okay too. Okay, solution selling. This is going to be a big thing that we are focusing for the whole company. That was a big part of the feedback that we got from our customers. Sales is going to be leading that effort, but it's going to incorporate something called spin selling as well. So there'll be a lot of training to sales and to the customer care groups, so that we're all speaking the same language when we're talking to customers, because we kind of have typically sold from a very technical perspective, but if we want to sell the decision makers, the business decision makers, we have to speak in a different language. So we're going to start doing that. It's just a different technique. It's all good stuff, nothing bad. So Jim will be leading that charge as well. And then the big focus for the leadership team is going to be the 2011 planning. We have a big 2-day offsite coming up in August, in the middle of August. So there'll be a lot of folks in from all the different offices and things to do that planning session. But that is the big focus, and the reason we do it now is this is a massive change for the company. Typically, you guys have started to do the planning in February. This year, we started to do the planning in November, just so we can kind of get it going. And now this year, we're going to start for next year in August. so that we actually have time to build a plan and budgets and communicate what it's all about, get a lot of feedback. So you know how we came up with project sales? That was what this year was all about. That's where we'll decide the theme, we'll decide what are the key things we have to accomplish as a company that are characteristics, and then build that into the numbers, and then also obviously take where we are with the revenue plan and decide, okay, what's reality for what we can accomplish, and what does our pipeline say? You know, what are the key initiatives? What are the key hires? All of that stuff is going to start happening in August, and that obviously takes a lot of time to figure out all those things, but it also marks a big change in the way that we're running the company. We are now running it for Built to Grow, and we want to make sure that we're scaling it in the right way and investing in the right areas. It's just a different change. But it's all good stuff, and you guys will start to hear a lot more about that as we get there. So that is all the stuff that's going on in Q3, and it's going to be a lot. So we're going to be busy. I think we're busy every year, but I think that everyone needs to hear me very loud and clear. When I say that we have turned the corner, we've worked at a pace that's pretty high, but man, we're about to get on a sprint. And I want everybody to know that being on a sprint is what I love. I live for it. I thrive for it. That is the number one reason I want to get involved with Foxeo, because it's fun. But it means the pace of work changes. We've signed up some big customers, and it's going to involve a lot of work, and we're going to have to start to think smarter. And how do we work faster, harder, and smarter? And so it's not about, I want to have everybody here all the time, but I want everyone to know that the rate of work is going to change, especially as the velocity of customers that we're signing up changes. And it's already starting, which is cool and fun, but I promise you, you're going to, you think today, you wake up and you're like, oh my gosh, it was just the beginning of the year. Because right now I feel like it was just the beginning of the year. It was just 6 months ago. I can't believe it was 6 months ago that we rolled out all of these plans. But I'll tell you, at the end of this year, you're going to be like, whoa. And then in Q1 of next year, I always used to call Q1, once you really get onto that growth pace, we used to call it war. I felt like I'd been through war because there was so much going on, but it was fun. It wasn't like a death war. It was like a but there's a high energy and adrenaline that comes along with it, and we are definitely getting on that path. And I want everyone to hear that. It's a different feeling, and we've been moving at a pretty good clip, but it's going to change. And so I just want to let you all think about that, understand that, but it's fun. And you all should really know you're here when it changed. This is the beginning of something that's really great. And I knew we could get here, and we're here. And now it's just a matter of keeping on that path, which is exciting stuff. So I now am really thrilled because so the Obsession Award, we're giving out two because there were two folks that did things that were real game changers and sort of set an example for how we want things to be done going forward. The first one, and you can't press the button, Dan, because they both will come up at the same time, unfortunately. Okay, one planned an event that was phenomenal, which I feel like gives this person away. But it was a massive game changer for us in the way that we communicate with our customers and how those events are pulled off, everything. And I think speech tech will be the next change and our next sort of, I can't think of the word, but she is definitely doing a lot of great stuff. This other person filled out an RFP that was huge. It was over 150 pages long. And the difference here was they responded in a business fashion, and also typically we really, the way we farm out RFPs is we'll say, hey, this X person, this is your job, you do this, and that's the way we manage it versus I actually want to take this, own it, learn it so that I can then respond to this on my own going forward. And that person the whole leadership team was unanimous on this because it took off a lot of burden, but it also marked a change in, we've been focusing a lot on, okay, the leadership team made a lot of decisions. What we need to do is get the rest of the folks within the organization really feeling like they are empowered and can make judgment decisions on their own. And, okay, this is what we need to do here. I don't need to consult somebody. I know what the right call is. And that's what this person did and really took control of the situation, and it was phenomenal. So the first Obsession Award is for Kim Martin, and the second one is Andreas Bolton. Both of you guys, congratulations. Tammy has all your stuff. She'll be in contact with you later. And then with that, I will turn it over to, I believe, Jim. Yes, and he's remote.
Yep. All right, great. I got my safe test set. I feel like I am almost there. So first thing I want to do is, it was a great Q2. I know we're going to talk about goals, but I'd like everybody who's in sales to please stand up so, people can see who contributed to the quarter. Just real quick.
Everyone's
Okay. Now, everybody in that room, wait, I got to be careful of my language based on that last slide. Everybody in that room better, you know what, be standing up. Is everyone standing up?
We just sat down, but not everybody.
All right. That was a test. I like to say at Boxeo we hire above average intelligence people, and see, we just proved that again. You're all in sales, and I want to thank everyone for your efforts, because I will tell you, there is no way we could have had the quarter that we had and the quarters we're going to have without all of your help. Everything from, Dante organizing a call last night at, 11 o'clock at night so somebody could get pricing on a deal we're trying to get him, to, Kim, of course, winning the session award, and everybody else in between. I know I'm going to leave out a lot of people, but y'all help. Thank you for that. I'm going to go over the goals for this quarter. First one, of course, for sales is always easy. We need to achieve revenue target. And we're setting a target, and I'll say a minimum target, a preliminary target of $5 million in contract bookings. And what does that mean? That means total contract value, so recurring and premise revenue. And then, of course, we need $3 million of revenue that we can recognize within the quarter. And these are the minimums. These will probably be adjusted a little bit upward as we figure out the impact of some of our deferrals and things in there. But we feel like this is the bare minimum we need to come in at. And so I expect this is a goal that will grow, which is good. That's what you want. You want sales goals that are growing. We are also going to focus in on cradle-to-grave lead management. So really tracking all the way from whether they be outbound or inbound, the initial lead source through to closure, so we can make sure that we're spending our money from a lead generation standpoint on the things that don't just generate leads, because leads are good, but really in the end, I used to have an old boss that told me cash is king. And so we want to spend our money on the leads that actually turn into customers who give us money, and those amounts of money will vary, but the ones that actually place an order. The other thing that we will do is we have implemented, I know Lori's been working with Kim to get that on the website, Sales SLA, and that really just is to make sure that the sales team is showing the same level of obsession and responsiveness that the rest of the organization is. So you'll all be able to view that, because it'll be up on the website, and comment on it and help us live up to it, since you're all in sales. I just signed you all up for something like this. Then we're going to work on improving our processes. Anna talked about spin selling. Now, I think you guys are really going to like this, because it doesn't work just for salespeople, but it really works in your personal lives. So let's just say you're out at a nightclub and you want to talk to someone. Well, first thing you do is you kind of find out a little bit about their situation, and you figure out their problem. So maybe their problem is they don't have a drink, or they don't have someone to dance with. And then you have to get to dig out and start conversing with them and get them to tell you what the implication of that problem is. Maybe they're bored and those things. And then, of course, you have to give them a payoff. You have to give them a need payoff. And so you really set that up to make sure they feel some of that pain and anguish. Then, of course, you're there to dance with them, or you're there to buy them a drink, and you're the hero, and then they buy from you, which I guess in this example means to hang out with you. That whole first slide has rattled me, because, a lot of my stuff is probably considered inappropriate, so my examples here, it derailed my whole presentation. All right, the other thing you're going to see us do, and I'm going to ask for everybody's help in this, the sales team is all about what I call process definition agreements. What a process definition agreement is when somebody says, hey, we want to do business with you, but we've got this big ugly RFP, we've got to go through all these approvals and all these things. We want to document that, we want to date stamp it, and we want to manage to it, so we don't have deals slipping around, and everybody knows what they need to do. That will also allow us to bring in resources like support people and account managers at the appropriate time, rather than just waiting until the very end and then throwing stuff at you guys and saying, help us here, and we need it by yesterday. And it also helps us go back to the prospective customers and say, you know, we had a plan that went like this, and you're delaying that plan, which is delaying your implementation, which is delaying your return on investment, which is costing you money. So I've sent out sample process definition agreements. I did a pretty simple one. We'll continue to add to this. In fact, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put some schedule, a Gantt chart schedule on there and add that. But any of you can go look at that. It's out on the Sales Wiki, and we'd be happy to have any comments and feedback, critical or otherwise, because all we want to do is get better with this stuff. Okay? And there are some other processes we'll work on, but those are really the big two for this quarter. And then finally, outbound lead generation. We have the capability here to go into companies and tell them this fantastic story, and I hope they'll find us and come to us. But I think there's a lot of companies we need to be going out to and saying there's nobody better in customer self-service and real-time communication than Voxeo, and here's all the great stuff we're doing. And so we're going to do that. I know Kim's doing a tremendous amount of work there. Greg Beatty and some of the board members have offered to help us with targeting companies that they know. And then, of course, we're doing these programs that Anna talked about. To do that, the first thing we have to do is make sure that the leads that are in the pipeline today are cleaned up. There were kind of 1,400 orphan, what I call web inquiries, people that had come to us via the web, that were sitting out there that didn't appear to have been followed up with. You know, we're finding about 1 in 100 of those is actually someone who's a legitimate prospect. But hey, that's great, because we need those. We need those 14 to 15 good opportunities, and that's the nature of this beast. Is you have to go through a lot of lookers to find the buyers. So we're getting that cleaned up. We're well through that. In fact, that will be done this month, and then we'll be ready for the influx of leads that are outbound campaigns, along with the continued inbound stuff that the marketing team is doing. Gets us. And of course, targeting our ideal fits first, and then we'll move outward from there using an inside the tornado approach. That is it for sales. The reason I put Obi-Wan Kenobi on there, as I always say, for those of you that aren't Star Wars fans, he's one of the best salespeople I've ever seen. If you remember the Jedi mind trick, that is a lot of kind of what we talked about spin selling. Is the key is to make people to sell something to someone, but it's not apparent to them that you're doing it. In fact, they don't even know they're being sold. And that's really what, since all of you are in sales, that's what we want to be. We want to be salespeople, and we want to be proud that we're all salespeople, but we don't want to look like we're selling. We just want them to, after they're done talking to us, wonder how they ever did business without Voxeo and realize that they can't go forward without us. That's it.
All right, Dan York.
Hi, Dan.
All right. Sorry about that. Okay, so looking at our goals, Anna already talked about it, Jim too, but the first part of what we're doing right now that we're working on is these migration campaigns. As we've identified 3 areas we're targeting. One is customers who have Nortel or PeriPro equipment, looking to target them with a migration over to voice objects. The second piece of what we're looking at is Aspect. We've chosen them as an existing incumbent IVR vendor that we're looking to try to see if we can migrate their folks over to Prophecy. And then we're going to also spend some cycles looking for folks who are using, like Cinelect and Edify, IVR products based on Dialogic cards, which are failing, old, all of that type of thing, and looking to, again, migrate them to over to Prophecy. So there's a direct mail piece to that. There's an email outreach piece, landing pages, all pieces that we're putting together right now to go and do that. The big piece, obviously, is speech text, and that's our focus. We've got a good number of, we've got the logistics of the booth. We've got all the different pieces for the actual events that are happening. Along with that, we've got content that we're creating, web content, video, all sorts of different stuff we're putting together for that show. And as RJ said, we have 18 days, so it's a lot that's being focused and done on there. After that, because that's really just the first part of this quarter, another large focus will be one of the big pieces of feedback we got out of the Customer Summit, which was that our partners are looking for a way to engage with us more, to work with us more. They're looking for a partner program, a formal program around them. And so that's, that'll be the next focus of what we're doing on a major level. A number of minor pieces, the lower tier there of my slide. The Gartner Market Scope, as you're probably aware, came out just recently. We were the only company that moved anywhere in the chart. We've moved up to the positive ranking, which is good in the Gartner space. It's a great, incredibly great narrative. It's something that we can share, and all of you folks who are in the sales team itself have the information on how to share that. We're getting it posted up to the website, so we're able to give that out to people. We've got some other pieces around that. As we mentioned in the email, there are some restrictions on what we can do, but we're working through that, and we'll get that information out there. It's an excellent report for us, and it's good stuff there. Coming out of the summit, we've got a lot of good feedback that we got from people and from the survey that came back. We're looking at that, looking to see what actions we can take, how we can move forward. We're also still looking to post content out there. We've got slides up. I've got a ton of videos here to work on to try to edit through and see what we can get up there and pieces. But that'll all be coming out over the next while as well, as we also are in the midst of all the other work we're doing here. The website itself, too, another big goal for this quarter is, again, taking the analytics work we've done and really turn that into some changes to the site. We've got a number of ideas, and we'll be working on that. Email programs, we started the Box Sale Unlock newsletter out to customers. For this quarter, we'll be putting out the developer newsletter, talking to all the people who are not our customers, but might be. And that last piece there that says WTLID is a new field you'll see in Salesforce, which is called the Web to Lead ID. It's a project that I've been working on with Lori and Alex and some others to basically do the web portion of what Jim talked about so that we can be able to do true cradle-to-grave tracking of how people get to it. One of the frustrations we've had on the marketing side is that we've had no way to know what really generates leads, what generates people coming to our site, and more importantly, what turns into revenue. So that's the key part, because we can know how many people come to different pages and stuff, but we don't know which of those turn into actual live customers who give us money. So this quarter, we've got this piece in part. You'll see that field being populated if you're working in Salesforce. And this quarter, we're working on tying that into the overall revenue so we can be able to get a spreadsheet ultimately that shows us where did people come from, how did they get to us, and what revenue came out from that. And that allows us to then be able to say, hey, look, these ads here work really well, and they generate a lot of leads, let's do more of them. Or this event was great, let's do more of that. Or it didn't work great. We spent a lot of money, and we wound up getting pretty much no revenue out of that. So that's the end goal of that, is how do we spend smartly, putting the science behind marketing. So that's a big part of what we're looking at this quarter as well. So that's all for me, and I'll pass it over to whoever's next.
All right. So RJ and I have sort of a big change and something that's very cool that we want to talk about. I will let him give the exciting news, but engineering is something that we all focus on a lot at this company. It's what got us to where we are today. And it's under a lot of great leadership that's come here, and we now have some changes that are happening within that group as well. And so I'll let RJ make those changes and make the announcement, but definitely positive stuff.
Definitely. Thank you, Anna. Well, I'd like to announce today a promotion within the engineering group of someone who's been spending a lot of time at Box and has contributed a lot to the success of the products and the solutions that we've built. Proud to announce that Dan Pulfer is going to be promoted to Senior Vice President of Engineering, and is going to As you guys know, Dan came with the company, started working on the Prophecy product. Over the last couple of years, he's been working on our hosted area environment. And over the last several years, he's shown a really strong commitment to our core values, to focusing on getting things done, execution. Especially over the last several months, as we've been working on adjusting the organization within the engineering group, we are focusing on having folks spend time and run their individual groups. So, for example, Stefan and Wei are still going to be fully responsible in leading their individual teams. I've been trying to manage a lot of the cross-group, cross-team organization, prioritization, execution of that, and I just do not have the time anywhere close to what's required to make sure that we get this done. I spend a lot of the time on the road between going out, working on the sales environments, working at customers, presentations, trade shows, working on future technology, and I haven't had anywhere near the time to focus on the execution within keeping all the projects together. Dan's done a really good job of stepping up and coming up with ideas and leading that team to making sure that we get things shipped on time, getting builds out there. And this is going to be something I'm very proud to have him on there as a huge help to that, working on my team to focus, for me, making sure that we get that put together. So definitely, if you guys get a chance, congratulate him privately. Like I said, key item, Wei and Stefan are still responsible for their individual projects. That's something that's definitely key. If you've got stuff around the Prophecy product or around Prism, they're still the core points on that. Dan's key item is going to be focusing on the overall delivery, because we have a lot of our project deliveries now cross between a lot of these different groups now. One thing we're looking to backfill, we are looking to actually go in and fill someone to focus on the hosting infrastructure on that. We do actually need basically someone who can spend all their time on that environment. It's a very core part of our business, and we have a lot that we need to do. So if you guys have suggestions or referrals or folks you know that kind of have good engineering experience, please let Dan and I know. We're definitely actively looking for someone to fill into that role. With that, I'll actually switch over to our next set of goals, because we definitely have a lot coming up on Q3. First thing I should bring up, we have a lot of delivery things that engineering is going to get pulled into. We shipped out some ridiculously large deals last quarter that are larger than stuff we've ever done before. We shipped out about 15,000 ports of Prophecy for Comcast. This is to replace their entire media server for all their voicemail infrastructure. This is a huge project that's going to be deployed. We have 25,000 ports of SIP method being deployed at Securus. There's definitely going to be some things coming up out of that. The engineering is going to work with the customer delivery teams to make sure that those are successful deployments. So that's going to probably be a big portion of this quarter. In addition, we sort of have, I'd say, a record number of projects and products that we're delivering on for the speech tech timeframe this year. Big items that are sort of the top things that are coming out of project growth and looking to build our revenue is Voice Objects on Demand. This is the hosted solution for Voice Objects, where people will be able to go in, use the Voice Objects tools, use desktop for Eclipse, and manage your Voice Objects infrastructure right in our hosted environment. We've seen a lot of opportunity with our customers towards that. We're going to have the first cut of this and looking to have that production ready before the end of the quarter. Production SMS. We launched SMS last year. Right now what we're doing is we've got a number of customers now and a number of good opportunities where we're actually making it fully production strength, deploying everything in multiple data centers, making sure we have all the key pieces well architected for reliability, scalability, and all the monitoring tools that we need throughout that. So that's being brought in to be ready to launch at SpeechTech. The next big one, which is a huge item, it's sort of related to Voice Objects, but is the hosted analytics. But one of the things that we're going to be launching as part of the updated Evolution portal is a whole set of reports, analytics, views into what's going on as in part of your application. And this has been a big project on that. We're going to basically be deploying the InfoStore as part of our hosted infrastructure. We'll be able to receive data feeds from the hosted Voice Objects installations, the Prophecy 10 staging clusters, and users will actually be able to go into the portal and drill into portions of their account. They'll also be able to access exports of their data, of the full InfoStore databases, so they can pull it in and plug it into their own data analysis, business intelligence platforms, and actually run reports in their own environments. There's been a lot of work here together. This is first phase. I think there's a lot of new stuff we're going to do as well. Next couple things that we're going to be focusing on throughout the rest of the quarter is the Prism launch. We've added a bunch of things that we're looking to plug into out-of-box Prism. We're looking to have some better built-in sort of standard PBX functionality shipping with the product. We're working with some native support for like Twilio's XMLs as a platform within it. There's a lot of things that we're going to ship in there and for finished productizing between now and in the year. Photo has been a big item that we're going to wrap up between now and end of quarter. We're looking to have that SDK available right around the SpeechTech KlueCon environment. We've got some good initial results with it. We've built some cool apps, but that's basically start getting it more as continue to make that technology preview. And then GA and Prophecy 10. There's a couple things we're going to be doing around Prophecy 10 between now and SpeechTech and end of quarter. We're doing some nice major UI reworks to address a lot of the usability. There's some things in there that we know folks have stumbled on. There's been a lot of challenges of trying to figure out how stuff works. We're actually doing a real focus over the next couple weeks, focused effort to clean up a lot of that stuff, put that in place, and basically make sure that between now and GA we have all that really wrapped up, and we'll have that ready to go before end of quarter. Those are the goals. got a good chunk of stuff to go through, along with, of course, the big item is the execution on those deliveries that we've got out there. So that's it. Whoever's next. There you go. Pleasure.
All right, hi everyone. The culture office has a little bit to do in Q3. So cohesion, I know, has been hanging out there. We've looked at that. As RJ just mentioned, engineering is really busy. So we've looked at some different approaches to keep that moving forward without requiring a lot of engineering time. So we're going to tip up the e-commerce site as probably an external site that's not as integrated with Evolution, but something we can still start using, help with some of the server tracking, some of the ordering, those types of issues. We want to get a first version up and start using it internally. Q12, as you know, and may have recently been reminded, the survey will conclude this Friday. At that point, we have a lot of work to do. So the survey is just the tip of this. We need to go in then and have the Q12 action team talk to everyone, find out what we need to do, what area we can isolate and improve first, and then make those improvements where we want to get all that done this quarter. For training, we've actually done a pretty good job of getting the newbie classes going on a fairly frequent basis. We've done about one a month for the past, I think, 4 months now. So we need to do this month's. But the next step is we're realizing as we're talking to a lot of the new folks coming in and really spending a few days talking about our core values and who we are, what we do. A, there's a lot of folks who came in a time period when we didn't talk about that. And B, there's a lot of folks who have been in for a long time that spending half a day talking about this isn't a bad refresher course, isn't a bad thing to go back through on occasion. So we want to, in this quarter, take the core value section and some of the key components of that newbie class and create really a core values class and then get everybody in the company through that this quarter. So it's going to be a significant effort. A lot of everybody's time will be spent there collectively, but I think the end result will be really good when you look at some of the deeper understanding that is coming out of folks just coming into Voxeo than we had a year ago. The difference is huge. So everybody going through that should help us get more on that same page to help keep up with this pace that's coming. The PMO organization, Anna talked about how we're really trying to empower and enable a new, not new, but another layer of folks inside Voxeo to make decisions, right? And we want that to be everybody. And then we need a leadership group within that group that is really focused on execution. And the PMO has started this focus meeting where those execution leaders are getting together and really working on what are the projects that are in flight, what do we need to do to deliver on some of these deals that have been sold like RJ was talking about. So it's really taking some of that and trying to distribute and grow the passionate problem solving inside of Voxeo. And that's a significant ongoing effort to keep that coordinated. We'll also be working on a lot of the individual projects, right? When we talk about some of the deals that are out there, there's Comcast, as P10 goes GA, we'll need to start talking with customers, lining things up with network operations so we can start to get that rollout going. So we need to start doing all that planning this quarter. Product management, Mr. Brooksman is going to be a little busy on creating feature analysis, cost analysis, kill sheets for top competitors, and we're going to, I guess in a reflexive definition, launch the launch process. So we're taking hosted VO through a more defined launch process leading up to speech tech, and then we want to get that in place, iterate, and refine throughout the rest of the quarter so that as we're launching products, we have the marketing material in place. And we've ensured that support is trained on how to support the product. Just a lot more process behind things that kind of happen or maybe don't sometimes. So I think that's an important step, really, as we start to move product management to the next level. In IT, our big challenge there is a global IT presence. Right? We've really focused a lot on the Orlando office. We've talked a little bit in Germany about some changes there, and we need to move that forward and start to think about this globally. How do we handle all of the IT needs, not flood the resources that we have available, but still get things done for everyone. HR has, first of all, a similar challenge there. How do we start to address some of those things worldwide as Voxeo is growing? Part of this pace is we're probably going to need to add a few people. So we need to be thinking about that and getting our processes in good shape. We also have a few defined projects. We've got the UltiPro site that's tipped up. that we need to finish the implementation with Ultimate Software. I know a few people are using that. I've gotten some feedback, mostly good, negative around the passwords. I've taken some of that input and actually gone back to them and asked for a change in the product so that we can use that more reliably going forward. Should no more Friday for those of you who have complained about that. But larger sense, we need to get UltraPro done so that we can start using that for communications. We need to work on our open enrollment for benefits. Will be, I think, starting September 1. So that should wrap up this quarter. We're looking at some changes in the plan. Not announcing anything yet because we're still looking at a number of options on what we might do there. We're also starting work on selecting a 401k program. So we've gotten pretty deep into that, looked at a few different options. We really have, that's going to be a process. We need to kind of select the plan this quarter so we can do the education in Q4 so we can start the thing Q1 of next year. So that's the goal there, but there's a lot of work that has to start now to get that done. And then finally, customer experience. All we have to do there is revise an entire department, refocus it, and figure out what 3.0 is. So that's going to involve refocusing scorecard meetings, looking at the metrics we want to use, focusing on the revenue churn that we're seeing as we start to dig into some of the numbers. And Amy's leading that effort, and I think we're already starting to see some really good changes, but there's a whole lot of work still to do there. So that's it. Nothing big. Oh, good deal. We can talk about this too.
Yeah. So Jim's not here, so both he and I are really passionate about this. So we wanted to both talk about it. But really, I mean, Brian's already been starting this. Amy started driving it, and we've been kind of having conversations about this. But this change needs to happen hard and fast. And there's a lot of changes that are going to go on this quarter, particularly because we have all of these big customers coming in, and they're going to be asking us to do a lot of different things. And we need to sort of get ourselves in line. Okay, we've really been focused on the metric of work of tickets. Man, I'm so glad you're documenting things. But what I want you to do is solve problems. I want you to figure out, what does the customer need? How do we solve that? And so we're going to be redesigning what that all looks like, and it's not going to be in this epicenter. I need to be very clear. These ideas need to come from the frontline folks. You guys are out there solving the problems. You see what's happening. We need to hear about it. Let's figure out how to turn it into a system that we use. And it's the way in which we are customer obsessed. And that's going to permeate the rest of the organization. I know Jonathan has been super passionate about this specific thing. This is what I live for. And I'm not going to take all of your store, but I'll tell you, this is one of what I believe to be so important. Because now that we've signed up these customers, oh my God, we cannot lose them. And we need to do whatever we can to make sure they are thrilled with their experience and that they are giving us high NPS ratings. And that's going to require a lot of revisiting of how we do things today, maybe re-bringing some things in that we used to do when we were smaller, but still, maintaining a focus on, hey, we got to make sure we are responding and letting folks know what's going on. But to me, I believe that happens if you're managing the communication and the conversation with the customer, and you have trust built with that relationship. And that is what that's about. We don't have specific things up there because I want us to define what that is this quarter and really figure it out. Because I've already heard a ton of feedback from just various conversations he's been having of things that, man, well, we should change that, we should do this, we should do that. And that's what it's going to be all about. So a lot of good stuff there.
So I want to give a couple of examples on the type of, go bold, right? That's there for the reason that we started talking about this and we were looking at the changes we were talking about for customer obsession teams, and they were all incremental evolutions. And then I wound up just having around platform this discussion with a number of folks. And Alex Van Dyke rolled his chair over and started talking. And Matt Henry dropped by, and it was reminiscent of when we used to just get a group of people together and attack a problem. So we started talking about this, and things came out of that really got back to, in the beginning of Oxeo, we really had a lot of customer obsession, and we did that really, really well. We didn't do the tracking of what we were doing so well, and that led to some problems with actually solving customer problems in the customer obsession. So, Jim, Alex came along and really helped us solve that problem. And in doing that, we kind of got unintentionally blinders on and lost some of those initial obsessive qualities. So we're talking about it and said, for Customer Obsession 3.0, we really need to not make these little incremental changes. We need to go back and look at what did we used to do that was great? What have we brought in that was great? Why did we lose some stuff? What did we do wrong in the first place? What did we do right as we move things forward? And look at this from a really larger perspective and not try to make incremental changes, but try to figure out what's the revolution there that the customer obsession team can do that is going to go through the entire company to change how we think about these problems, how we think about tickets, how we think about customers and interactions with customers. Just a huge volume of things that we can go in and not necessarily make a bunch of radical changes and change everything we're doing, because we're doing a lot of stuff right. We just have to figure out what's the 10, 20% we want to change, and how do we not evolve that? But how do we create a revolution around that? And that's what's really going to drive our NPS scores up, drive our customer loyalty up, and ultimately help drive that revenue up, help keep these new customers, and help find the new ones. So I think that team has a lot of work to do, and right now, I've already had a couple good conversations. I'm happy to talk with folks about this. If you have any ideas, the big thing is, like Anna said, I don't know what we're going to do. All I know is I'm going to go incite people to, riots and like trash cans on fire and, revolt in the streets. And then we're going to come back together and be a lot more organized and figure out what we need to do. But we need those revolutionary ideas to come in and shake things up. So if you have them, don't keep them to yourself.
Okay, this is Paul with Network Operations. Third quarter goals. First of all, Dan, again, congratulations. That's fabulous news. Well deserved. So first item is to reduce the need for goodwill payments to zero as a result of network changes. Same goal there. The idea is one step beyond the SLA, but even if there's an issue where the customer thinks, this didn't go right, we're in a situation where we have to pay them money, we don't want to be in those situations. So the idea is to provide the kind of service where the customer isn't even in a position where they think, we should get some money from Boxeo because something didn't go right. Achieve net promoter score of 70% along those lines. Again, just to try to keep those calendar months green. No SFMs. You know what I mean? And those numbers there will be at the end of the quarter if we're successful. So those are the targets. The 516 represents the length of time between the last SFM and the end of the quarter. And the 199 and 265 represent just regular, not Boxeo type network outages. So sadly, we know we're not going to make that because of our pals at Global Crossing and, quite frankly, Telex and their stellar power supplies. Not, just kidding, of course. Voice objects over there in the middle, moving voice objects into hosted. There'll be some work on the part of network operations, probably a thing or two. Nothing major, RJ, I'm sure. But no, seriously, to support that, to get that product into the hosting environment. PCI compliance, we're continuing to move forward with that. We've engaged a consultant who has expertise in the area of designing and deploying Active Directory, which is something we need for the AAA, or centralized authentication, to be PCI compliant. That individual started working with Brian Bender this week. So we're hopeful in the next couple of weeks we'll have a design there and something we can deploy with. Saving money, we continue to work on that. Chris is testing with Newstar for the LRN, or the local number portability piece, to see if there's a way to direct calls to the owner of the number. If there is, that will be a cheaper call for us than going through some of our providers today. Let's see. APAC, putting up Hong Kong and Singapore. Hong Kong, we've got 15 servers up. We're in the process of imaging them, getting them ready for BT. Singapore, we're nearing the, hopefully, end of our negotiations with Tata to get that center up, and then that will be where we will host BT, and anything else we have to sell in the APAC region. And then finally, production SMS, do what we need to do to support having SMS be production ready, billing, reliability, da-da-da-da-da. That's it from network operations. Thanks, everybody.
Morning, everyone. Tony with the finance team. Anna talked about it earlier. Developed 2011 plan. We'd like not to be doing that in January and February again. So I'll be working with Jim Bork, starting with a revenue plan. We want to get expense plans out to each of the functional VPs. Work with Paul on a capital budgeting plan, and then what impact mergers and acquisitions may have on that plan. As Anna said, we want to start that probably in August. We've got, quite honestly, kind of a clunky way of doing that now. Most of the way we do it, the spreadsheets that we use to build it, need improvement. So besides doing all of that, we need to improve the process as well. Upgrading process and reporting key metrics for easy consumption. One of the things we started this year was looking at installed base stuff. You know, what's happening with our installed base? You know, where's the churn? Customers that are increasing, decreasing, the revenues with us, and then getting that to the appropriate people. So we got to continue to build on that process and looking at those things. So that's one of the goals we have for the quarter. And then eliminating redundancies. We live in spreadsheet hell, quite honestly, in the finance team. We've got way too many. A lot of it is because, you know, this group needs this information, this group needs this information. We don't want everybody to have all of it. Not quite sure why. But we've got way too many spreadsheets. We're going to reduce the number of spreadsheets we use, and hopefully that'll help get information out to people who need it a lot easier. And then, of course, Great Plains. We've got to confirm a timeline for getting this thing implemented. First of all, we've got to use our internal resources. Peter Schunk in Germany knows this thing like the back of his hand. When he was here earlier this year in May, he was a great help going through some of it with the team. Probably have to have him come back and then schedule some training. We'll have some outside consultants that help us get that implemented. Those are the top three for us for the quarter. Thanks.
Hello, can you hear?
I think so. Sure can, Michael.
All right. This is Michael with the goals for EMEA. Essentially, not all of those are really related to Europe. Some of those are really more from an international perspective. There are a couple of line items. The first one is really about everything everywhere. This is a new name, which you probably will hear a few times more from now on. You may remember, we talked a lot about T-Mobile UK a year ago. So T-Mobile UK and Orange went through a merger, and the result is a new legal entity that is named Everything Everywhere. So this entity is now in operation since July 1st. Things are moving forward again, and we're looking here now for a global deployment, and that's really one of the accounts we want to win. This quarter, at least, for the remaining time of this year, we will basically very much focus on this account, where at the end of the day, we want to deploy 10,000 ports of Proxy Pro on-premise. The other thing, the second line item is about our hosting pricing. Structurally, we need to harmonize the pricing models between Europe and the US. This is very important for international players that are approaching us, such as Bosch in the past. Those folks when they see pricing sheets not structurally easily, they are in the first place a bit confused. So we have to do some work here to harmonize those. We also improve our pre-sales environment, specifically being more solution-oriented, to present live demos around dashboards and live traffic and support. I want to write this application configuration portals in order to demonstrate our capabilities, specifically around voice objects on demand and the capabilities of the overall product, but also make it easy to utilize the multi-channel demos that we do have in place. And also educate the sales guys to use them on a daily basis without heavy involvement from the sales engineering side. Talking about sales engineering, pre-sales, we also are going to enhance our material in terms of PowerPoint decks, specifically around the new product offerings, talking about Prism and the Chrono capabilities. all the great feedback we've seen from the summit, we essentially need to now reflect on our week-to-week presentations we are giving to partners, customers, prospects. Talking about partners, since the summit was mainly an event that was visited primarily by US partners, but also to European partners, we certainly need to educate all the ones who haven't been there in June, essentially on those new product offerings, those adjusted price models, like hosted voice objects with a pay-as-you-go model and so on. So there's some work where we are going to have peer-to-peer webinars with individual partners this quarter. Prophecy and potentially Prism, when we're going to have the reloaded version, I think, for feedback. We want to register worldwide in public download portals. Voice Objects is already registered in those portals, so we're going to do this for all the other products as well. Also, we are going to keep up and polish our so-called RFP guide. So we went through a lot of RFP exercises throughout the first half of the year. I think we have at least responded to 10 or more large-scale RFPs. So we're going to consolidate all those questions in a neutral form that will be a template for other companies issuing potentially RFPs to implement them into our direction around prophecy and obviously voice objects and other products. Also, another task for this quarter is to strengthen our relationship with Loquendo, specifically for the premise pricing in Europe. Right now it's a bit confusing where different languages have different pricing. And also we need to overall simplify the evaluation process, how we can essentially request and ship very quickly and without major paperwork a software license software Loquendo to a prospect who's interested to test drive both products, Prophecy with Loquendo on their premise installation. And finally, marketing related, we certainly need to further enhance and fix the content for the German stuff on Proximo. That's it. Sure.
Thanks, Michael.
Kevin calling in from Beijing. Kevin calling here. Looking at some of the goals for Q3, and we wanted to start driving production traffic to the new Voxel Hong Kong data center that Paul is putting in place. And obviously we already have BP traffic going through there, but we certainly want to drive additional traffic to it, particular production traffic where we get paid. So I'm working on a project where we can get potentially 10,000 inbound calls a month from all over Pacific regions, China, Japan, also Singapore, Philippines. So obviously there's some telco complexity challenges that we have not dealt with before in Asia Pacific. One of them is getting enough ports on certain PID numbers as well as toll-free numbers. Those would be some of the challenges we have never dealt with before. So that's something that we have to deal with. Certainly, driving more production traffic to the Hong Kong data center would be one of the top goals we have. Also, migrating some of the existing developer apps. That's the other thing we're looking at. Once we have those production traffic, additional production traffic, then we can capitalize on it by doing more promotions to let people know that about our Asian hosting that we're launching. The other thing is that we are gonna also going back to some of the old Micromatic customers with Prism education. Just to give you an example, when we deployed SIP method in Korean G market, back then we had to work closely with Snowshore Media Server, right? So ever since then, Snowshore Media Server is now all part of Dialogic. It's called Dialogic IP Media Server. Having Prism where SIP method is integrated with a media server, now we can go back over there and see if there's more we can do on Prism educations. The other goal that we have is to have Beijing take over the real-time support for the third shift. Matt Henry is already spending a lot of time training the newbies here in Beijing, but we have more to do to staff up the team. Once we have that, and we'll have Matt come over at least once or twice to putting a formal process in place for the support. One last thing is to work closely with the replacement campaign so that we can launch a better outbound lead generation campaign. That's all there is. Thank you.
Oh, he's not here today.
He's on vacation
Yeah.
this week.
Hey, Jose.
Jose, you're up.
I was joking. I mean, if you want to, feel free.
Yeah.
What am I doing?
We're gonna guess you know what your goals are, that Jason talked with you about them.
Yes, it's a big assumption.
Right? That's good. That's good.
Promise the mic.
You can just talk to the top three.
He's doing a lot of cool stuff. All right. Okay. So I really honestly can't speak too much about the developer outreach stuff, other than mostly focus on the engineering side. So I'll talk a little bit about that and then pass it on. Speech tech, obviously, pretty big push for everyone right now. You guys may have heard the word TWIML. Won't get into that too much, but basically TWIML is Twilio's version of Call XML. It's their XML-based markup language. It really is like stepping into a Call XML time machine and going back about 5 years, 7 years to when Call XML started. It's pretty basic in terms of functionality, but they've gotten a lot of traction in the industry, and more importantly, they actually released a pretty great PBX product called OpenVBX, and we figured why not capitalize on the great work that's going on there. Plus, the community seemed to be adopting it. They have a nice plug-in architecture for actually extending the PBX and adding some cool features to it. Ultimately, TWIML, just like Call XML or to some extent Voice XML, it's just markup, right? Under the covers, we can implement that using our standard stack of technology. So Prism, we have a media server that has all the base functionality that we would need. So one of the things we've been focusing on is basically implementing the TWIML language, and we'll be bundling that as part of Prism for SpeechStack along with the OpenVBX product. So if you guys want to play around with that, it's openvbx.org. Although the only way you can actually run it right now is against Twilio's hosted service, and we don't want to give them too many signups. So if you want an actual Twilio login, let me know so we don't actually bump up their numbers. I talked about basically those two, and I guess the last part is virtualization's pretty big right now. A lot of people are looking into how to maximize the hardware utilization, how to cut costs. So one of the things that we're doing, not just for Tropo, but for Prism in general, is working with some virtualization providers that basically will build a custom image of your product for you, and then you can one-click deploy that to any variety of virtualization hosting people like EC2 or GoGrid, or there's really just like a core like 5 or 6 companies out there, Rackspace, that offer virtualization, actually not just virtualization, but really image hosting, because we talk about images, and you usually talk about slicing a single physical box, but Rackspace offers some really cool stuff where you can basically, it looks like virtualization, but really have your own dedicated hardware. So anyways, we're looking to leverage that. Not only would it be neat to start experimenting internally, but also for example, QA, if they need an extra couple boxes for something, they can spin it up real quick, do their tests, and then shut it down. But also in support, someone reports an issue with like P8, it's next year, we're already talking P11, where you can quickly spin up a P8 instance real quick, do your test or validate the fix, and then shut it back down. So virtualization is definitely on everyone's radar right now. And on the outreach stuff, I'm sure we're going to do a great job. whatever it is. The big one, I guess, there is AdhesionCon, which, if you guys haven't heard of it, it's Jason and Jay, Jason Gecke, which is still here at the company in labs. They created a Ruby framework called Adhesion, which lets you do cool stuff with the phone. But basically, it doesn't work with any of our stack right now. It's asterisk-based, but they have a pretty big following. So the long-term goal is to get Adhesion working on top of Prism. But in the meantime, we're kind of continuing to lead the open source part of that, even though it's actually competitive with what we do. That's it.
There we go. Thanks. All right. Cool. I think that should be it. We're good. All right. We're all set. Unless Jonathan has anything, I don't think he does. So you can ping me. So we should be good. All right. We're good. Thanks, guys.